Hey, what's up everybody? This is GeekyAviseq once again from here in Dallas, Texas, and today I'm bringing you the review of the Samsung One UI update. So basically what Samsung did was they got rid of the TouchWiz. I know a lot of people hated it because it was kind of, laggy, and but they did made some improvements back in when they launched the S6 and the S6 Edge and the S6 Edge Plus. But then what happened was with the S7, the TouchWiz even started to feel a little bit laggy and overall like making the phone struggle switching between apps and such. Then came the Galaxy S8 and they thinned down the TouchWiz further, and so we had a fairly decent lightweight launcher from Samsung. And there's a reason a lot of people, like I kind of like TouchWiz. The reason is that it has a lot of features that if you are using a plain vanilla stock Android phone, there are some of the features that are missing. But TouchWiz gives you a lot of options. Initially there were a lot of options that were introduced by Samsung and then finally made into the stock vanilla Android, but there were several features that was introduced by Samsung in their launcher first, and then it came to the stock vanilla Android. So then ever since then Galaxy S9 also launched with a newer thinner version of what they call Samsung Experience TouchWiz, and most of it was good. Like it was probably not as fast as plain vanilla stock Android and all that, but it was fairly decent, and I didn't really see a lot of lags or the phone getting bogged down on my S9 or S9 Plus when I had them, or also on the Note 8. With the S8 Plus, I did see occasional stutters, but nothing to complain about. Most of the times it worked flawlessly and good. But now Samsung introduced this One UI which completely replaced the TouchWiz, and it is pretty surprising that they actually pushed out this update even before the Galaxy S10 came out. So a lot of older phones like the Note 8 and the S9, S9 Plus actually received this update. Usually most of the time Samsung's strategy was to hold on to the latest version of Android update or any other enhancements that they have and only release it with a newer phone, and then several months down the line, if they wish, they would update their older phones. So that would force people, if they wanted a newer version of Android, to buy the newer phone. But I don't know, something happened. So something Samsung had been doing, like with the S9, S9 Plus, actually Samsung never used to even get frequent updates. If you had a carrier device or an unlocked device, you would, like, it was very rare to see a Android security patch or anything like that. It would take several months and it would still be lagging several months behind. But with the S9, S9 Plus, Samsung did something amazing. I mean, I don't have the S8, so it's been a while. When I had the S8, I don't remember was getting patched so frequently, but there was a lot of complaints that Samsung never releases it updates, and phones like OnePlus, they are so close to Pixel, like almost updating, patching their phones every month whenever Google comes out with a security update for that. But Samsung wasn't really doing that, and in fact they were not, like I said before, like they didn't bother to even care updating their older phones at all. But something changed back in 2018. Ever since I had the S9 or S9 Plus, I've been frequently getting updates. So if I am in January, I would see the December security patch. If I am in March, I would see the February security patch. So every month, it may be a month lagging, but I got all the updates for every month, every time when Google released their monthly security update, which is pretty strange. Most people, like, who have had experience with older Samsung phones, they will bash them because usually people would think there's no updates. It's 2018 and we're still running an Android version from 2017. None of the security patches. Forget about the actual major version of Android update. But this is a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. This is my older phone. I was using this phone along with my Google Pixel 3 XL. What I noticed with this phone is actually I like this phone more than the Pixel 3 XL, because here's how the One UI looks like. It's still very Samsungish. but as you can see, there's a lot of new icons, so it's a complete rehaul of how the icons looked, and then all the buttons, like all the navigation buttons, they changed it, and it did update it to like the Android Pie version. And then they have also, as you can see, like if you have read the other reviews, what they are telling is this, they made the whole purpose of this one UI is to give the users a seamless experience, like one-handed use. So basically what happens when you scroll, everything is like pushed down. There's a huge gap on the top, and then all the menus are like pushed down on the bottom, further down. So it's just making it easier for you to access. So you see that kind of a theme going on like everywhere, like when you go to the settings, as you see, there's a big space, and then settings and all the other menus, push down. Same way with the connect, like if you go to every other sub menus and everything, most of them like have their thing pushed down so that it's easier to just handle it, use it single-handedly. But other than that, they introduced some other things I really liked. First thing is this skin is very light. It's really fluid. I never got any hiccups or anything. I had multiple apps running. And it's very nice to see. It is so nice that now I have the Galaxy S10. I don't really see much of a difference, and I feel like I really didn't need a new phone. I just got it because I'm gonna trade it in and get my trade-in bonus. But if Samsung didn't provide a good trade-in value for this, my S9 Plus, there would be no reason for me to update at all, because even when it comes to the camera, Samsung kind of kept the camera more or less the same in the S10, except they added the wide-angle camera on the S10 and the S10 Plus. But other than that, in terms of performance, there's of course the S10 has a newer processor from Qualcomm, the 855, and it has more RAM. But overall, there's not much of a difference right at this point in two phones to justify, like a $900 phone. If you had got the S9 last year if you got the S9 Plus last year for $800, I won't upgrade to the S10 for the heck of it and spend another $800 for it. I would see this. It is absolutely unnecessary unless you want the latest and the greatest. But in terms of performance and everything, like yes, it is on par with. You wouldn't really notice the difference. It's very nominal difference between the two. So other than that, coming back to this TouchWiz, what they added was like they have these close all options. So even Google Pixel on the plain vanilla Android, you have to scroll all the way to the left and then go and close it. But if you have this open, like Samsung made it a little better, so you can just hit close all and it will close all your applications in the background. The other thing I liked is they added this feature called night mode. So basically what it is doing is, see, it turns all your menus to dark, like black. So, and it saves a lot of battery, and it's sometimes just nicer. Samsung always has this blue and white going on, and I didn't like the Android one, but when there used to be a weird green on white, it just seemed like boring and dull. But I always preferred Samsung keeping it white and blue. But I wish that it was black, as I could find that in some of the phones like OnePlus. But they finally did this, and so the way they did it is pretty nice, because this darkening is all way. Like, you go to your dial app, if you go to your messages, so it's like a full-fledged like system-wide darkening of the theme, which I really liked. The other thing, I don't really have a lot to say. Most of the things are the same as it used to be, but overall speed of this one UI is really good. So actually this is making the phone, like the kind of phones like S9, S9 Plus and Note 8 more enjoyable while using. And I think people who are not wanting to upgrade, they can actually hold on to it for a while now, because the experience is just really buttery smooth. It's really good. They have added a lot of customizations. All the menus are refreshed. Performance is excellent. All the little bit tiny adjustments. This is probably the best skin that was ever, like a best third-party or customized skin that was ever put in any Android. I use a lot of phones for my reviews and all that. So coming from an LG G7 ThinQ and the Motorola, which is clean stock Android, and then Pixel, And all these phones, even some of the Huawei, ZTE, MI phones, I mean, I've been using them and I get them produces reviews and all that. So I kind of have used most of the customized skin, but hands down I can tell you that this is really Samsung did a great job, and I hopefully they will keep up to it. Two things Samsung changed last year. One is the frequency of pushing out the security updates irrespective of what carrier device you have. So basically they gone away with so now the other thing that you need to remember with the starting from the S8, S8 Plus and the S9, so what Samsung has is a North America version. So basically that version, if the model number, let's flip this, if you can see the model number, I will just wait for it to focus a little bit. So okay, my camera is not cooperating. So basically if you see, this is the 960U. so 960U means it's a North American version but from a carrier. If it's 960UI, so that basically means it's a S9 Plus, the unlocked version from Samsung. So what Samsung did away starting the S8 is the phones are identical in terms of radios and everything, like all the frequency bands it supports and everything. Their phones are hardware, like they are identical in hardware. Only thing that's different is if you get a phone from T-Mobile, you will get T-Mobile software in it, like the Samsung software with T-Mobile third-party apps and whatever T-Mobile chose to get in. Same way with Sprint, same way with Verizon, same way with AT&T. But then what Samsung eventually did with pushing an update, it's basically made it like if you have any carrier phone and it's unlocked, the moment you would switch the SIM card, like if I have a T-Mobile phone, this was an AT&T phone, now I'm on Sprint. So when I had the AT&T SIM card inside, so it had all the AT&T features available to me. When I took the AT&T SIM card out and inserted the Sprint SIM card, what Samsung had done is it would, reboot the phone, and then it will remove all the previous carrier. It will actually read the SIM card and then reboot, and based on the carrier specific settings it will apply those settings on here. So I will automatically have my Sprint application, Sprint voicemail, Sprint Wi-Fi calling, and all that carrier features enabled automatically. So basically that means it's just like an unlocked phone. It's now easier to switch carriers. As long as you have unlocked it, you can actually be able to pop out the SIM, restart your device, and boom, you go. Like it would work exactly like as if it was a native device from that particular carrier. So same thing with the One UI. So even your boot animation changes if I was to reboot this device, because the last SIM card that was in this phone is from Sprint. So if I would reboot, it will actually show me Sprint splash screen. If I was to take the SIM card out and boot it with an AT&T SIM, it would actually show me the AT&T boot screen, and it would apply the AT&T settings on that. So which is pretty cool in my opinion, that you don't have to fiddle through installing the carrier specific apps or and to go through settings and enable the carrier specific settings. It just automatically reads the SIM card and automatically applies this to the phone. So the other thing that the One UI got is in the messaging app. They call it like a rich text messaging app. So basically it's just like a kind of very similar to your iMessaging. So what it does is it gives you more detailed notifications as if your text was delivered, if it was read, and if somebody is responding to it. So if somebody is responding to it, you actually see them as they type, you see the dots, so that means they are actually trying to respond to your messages and all that. So they did introduce that cool feature, but remember, for that feature to work, your carrier, whichever carrier you have, they need to also support rich communications text. If that does, then of course your phone will also support that, which is kind of cool. They also cleaned out the camera interface. So now switching between the front and the rear camera is on the bottom, which I think is that's the best spot to put it in. I just don't want when the icon was on the top, so you had to reach out to actually flip your camera. And then you have all these options, down here, kind of made it look like the native Google camera app, which I like. It's much more cleaner, faster. It works pretty good. I mean, no complaints about that. So they changed the camera app a little bit, cleaned it up, and it's all good. I mean, for me, this is the nicest UI from Samsung. It's fast, it's feature rich, it is basically incorporated all the bunch of wish list that people would expect from their phone to have, and then just made it close to perfect. So let me go and show you what where it shows the software version. So basically this is the One UI 1.0, and as you can see it's Android 9, and the security patches from February 2019. So we are in March, just the beginning of March, and it's already been updated to the February 2019 security update. And then I'll compare this to my Galaxy S10, and I'll show you how it looks. If you see, it's the same thing. It's One UI version 1.1 Android 9, and then in terms of security update, it's still the February 1st 2019. So this is the S10 and this is the S9 Plus. So because I have both the phones, this is 6.1 inch and this is 6.2 inches. But if I were to place the phone side by side, they're very identical. That's why I decided to skip the S10 Plus and instead go for the S10. This device, I mean, I really love the size of the S9 Plus. This is just perfect. The screen is large, but it's not hard to handle. Pixel 3 XL, I just found it was a little bit wider for my liking. But it's still a nice big device. I just like bigger screens, so I just can't do anything smaller than 5.5. And honestly, when I got the Pixel 3 with the 5.5 inch screen, it just kind of started to feel like it was smaller. So probably now my sweet spot is 6 inches for any phone screen. 6.5 maybe a little too big, but this is 6.1, this is 6.2. For some reason the S10, even though it's a 0.1 inch smaller than the S9 Plus, seems a little bit smaller. And I think because of this hole punch thing, like it eats away some of the real estate on the screen for some reason. So, but it's not too bad. It's kind of new. I like it. I won't say I hate it, because after a long time I think this is refreshing. I mean, after seeing all the notches and the teardrop, different kind of notches, whether it's a teardrop or that big fat ugly notch, this is much better. But even if Samsung released something like the S9 Plus where you just have a tiny bezel, I wouldn't even bothered. I wouldn't be bothered that much, because I did like the notchless versus having a notch. Well, the Infinity O display is a new thing. Samsung needed to do this on their 10th generation phone, so that's why something special was needed. So I think Samsung put in a lot of things in that, and they did it well. So now, with a quick comparison of the two phones, like if you see how the TouchWiz, the new version, works, it's actually very close. I mean, both the devices are pretty close when it comes to I mean, that's what I'm like. I'm pretty surprised that the One UI skin made this phone feel so much nicer. You do see a slight like now the camera actually launched faster on the S9 Plus than the S10, right? The S10 has 8 gigs of RAM and this has 6 gigs of RAM, but and an older processor, but still. Let's try it again. It's a wash now. I mean, almost same. And let's try some of the apps. Yeah, so there you go. So there you see that the S10 in terms of performance, and I mean, it's only a slight improvement over S9. So if you already have an S9 or S9 Plus, I would think you can safely skip the S10 unless you get it at a very good deal where you get a good trade-in value for your S9, S9 Plus, and you get a bunch of other freebies like they did in the pre-order. So with this, the only reason I did this is because with the S10 pre-order, they gave $550 credit for S9, S9 Plus, and Note 8. So I think those are pretty good, because if you had a Note 8, it's been more than a year old, and getting $550 for a more than a year old phone is pretty darn amazing. I don't think you would be able to sell a Note 8 for that much, maybe 300 bucks. That's the ongoing price right now. So Samsung giving you 550 is definitely a way for them to push you to get the S10. Besides that, they also included the Samsung Galaxy Buds, which are the latest ones, and all the reviews about the Buds seems to be pretty good. I haven't even opened it and had the time to try them on, but definitely I'm gonna do that sometime this week and upload that video too. So, and then they also included, $50 worth of accessories. So I mean, you're basically getting $550 for your old phone, and then another 200 $180 for the free on accessories, which it makes it like, I mean, even if you went for the Galaxy S10e, which is just basically you're getting that phone almost for free if you would count in the cost of the accessories. So after 550, it is just 150 more, and then you value in you deduct the price of the earbuds and the $50 for the accessories. You basically are getting the latest phone for free. So that's why if Samsung sees a lot of good sales number, here you go, Apple, that's how you do it. How much do you pay for your older trade-in devices? Almost next to nothing. And how much so that's how, I mean, for the XR, I mean, even with the double trade-in benefits, it's still expensive. You still have to spend $500 out of your pocket to get a XR if you had an iPhone 6s, versus if you had one of the Note 8, you just spend $150, and even after accessories it's free. So that's all, guys. I mean, that's pretty much everything about the One UI OS. So if you want to if you are not using any of the Samsung phones, like if you have an older device, but if you're planning on getting the Note 8, S9, S9 Plus, and you can get it at a good price, definitely go for it, because S10, is it like a big upgrade from the previous generation? To me, it doesn't. I mean, you should be equally happy, because I just showed you, the speed, performance, it's very close, neck to neck. That's all, guys. Subscribe to my channel, leave your comments, and I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, bye.